brought to you by Vermonti's. Craving something cheesy, crispy, and unforgettably delicious? Say hello to Vermonti's Pizza, where every slice is a love letter to the Green Mountain State. From classic pepperoni to our mac and cheese pizza, we're serving up bold flavors you won't find anywhere else. Order online and get 20% off your first purchase with promo code Vermonti20. That's VERMONTY20. Hit us up on Instagram at Vermontes_Vermont Eats to see what's hot and fresh right now. Vermonti's Pizza, homegrown, handmade, and hella good. I know I said this a few weeks ago, but I actually kind of was lying when I said that. I looked at the ad read for most of that. This time, I actually did it fully without looking at it. So I think I finally have it after doing it like 75 times. I think I finally have the ad read down. So that's a W. Thank you to Jeff Miller and Vermonti's Pizza. We appreciate your continued support of us. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Potential Experts. You'll notice that Mr. McPherson is not with us tonight. He is traveling the world, and we support going out and exploring beyond the confines of sports. I have no interest in it, but we encourage other people to do so. And Ben is taking that opportunity tonight. I believe he's in Costa Rica as of right now. If that's not where you are, Ben, sorry, I don't listen. But we still have myself, Ethan, and Brandon, and we are going to jump right into some football talk. Brandon, I understand that you have some words for the Buffalo Bills.
I do. I have some strong thoughts and opinions regarding Buffalo. And first things first, I say, nice job, Buffalo. You basically put the Bengals away. We talked a little bit last week about how the Bengals still have, granted, they do still have a chance to win the division. They're not out. They're not officially eliminated yet, but things are a lot tougher with the loss to Buffalo. So good job taking care of business there. But now I start to look at the playoff race, which we talked quite in depth about the other last episode. But I really want to hone in on Buffalo here. And I say to you, Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, if you're listening, which I know is extremely unlikely, but if anyone connected to the Buffalo Bills organization is listening, you need to hear this loud and clear. This is your year. I know that you have not been overly convincing, and there are a lot of doubters out there because your team has not been the best that you've put out there. But guess what? The AFC this year is wide open. We've talked about this at length. The AFC, there are no true challengers. Well, Buffalo, guess what? Your biggest obstacle, Patrick Mahomes, is likely not going to be there. And they're the reason you have not made a Super Bowl yet. Really, realistically. They are the number one reason why Josh Allen has not seen a Super Bowl. Joe Burrow, after the win this week, unlikely you're going to see him. Lamar Jackson, he could be there, but it's not a lock. They have to win the division to get there.
Plus, Lamar is a bum.
I'm not going to argue that. That's a perfectly valid take. My point here being,
hey, Josh Allen in the playoffs is a bum too.
I don't know about that. Yeah, and putting that aside, I just say to you, the major obstacles that I would point to as a reason you would not make the Super Bowl, they're not there this year. There are no excuses. Buffalo needs to be in the Super Bowl this year. They need to represent the AFC, and I think, frankly, if they're not there, there should be some heads rolling in Buffalo.
No respect for the big schedule. No respect for Drake May in terms of.
And you know what? They've had a fantastic season. They have had a fantastic season, but at the end of the day, that's the kind of team that Buffalo needs to take care of business over. It really is. They have way more playoff experience. Buffalo is not a bad team. Drake May should not be beating Buffalo. Drake May and the Patriots should not be beating Buffalo in the playoffs. I'm sorry. I know they got the regular season win over them, but at the end of the day, that is a team that you should be beating.
Ethan.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 regular season wins over them after Sunday. And, the Bills, this is a good chance, obviously, without Mahomes there. But, I think you're not giving the Patriots enough credit. I don't think you're even giving Denver enough credit. All likelihood is Buffalo would have to go to either of those teams in the playoffs, especially like in Mile High, the best defense in football. I have my doubts on the Bills. They kind of got lucky this week. They almost blew it against not a really good football team. Josh Allen put the team on his back, and they had a couple of lucky interceptions where the ball got batted at the defensive line. But I see what you're saying, the opportunities there. But for me, I'm a doubter.
I agree. I'm going to continue to agree with you. Like, there are definitely question marks for Buffalo. I'm not even going to try and deny that. It's just, there's nobody that I look at in the AFC that has been an established contender with legitimate, history that I could point to saying Buffalo might not beat them. Because how long have the Broncos been making playoff runs into this new era? Last year was really their breakout year. They've been good this year. I'm not going to, again, they've had a really good year. And could they beat Buffalo? Yes. But the Broncos have been frankly very bland for quite some time until recently. The Patriots, again, you're coming out of a rebuild, and those are probably their two biggest contenders that they gotta deal with.
I'm going to pose a question kind of in the same light of talking about the AFC and the lack of contention, true contenders in that conference. I was watching Sunday NFL Countdown and Rex Ryan, so former coach of the Jets, made a statement that upon hearing it, I'm like, why are you allowed to talk football? Then I started thinking about it. And the statement was if the Houston Texans go on to beat the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, which they did 20-10, don't be surprised to see the Texans be the AFC representative in the Super Bowl. And it got me thinking with that Texans defense, truly one of the top 3 units, right up there with Denver's as it pertains to defensive units in the NFL. We definitely consider Denver a true contender to come out of the AFC. So my question is this, and Ethan, I'm going to go to you first. Who do you trust more, Bo Nix or CJ Stroud in January?
That's not an easy one.
Not at all.
I'm going Bo Nix for the sole reason that like he's probably gonna have one, if not two, home playoff games. He's got a pretty balanced receiving core. CJ Stroud's, very target heavy to Nico Collins, and then the rest of the guys are kind of hit or miss, and their run game isn't as established as Denver's. So the whole package, I'm going Bo Nix.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Ethan, and not necessarily from the same standpoint, but again, if we're looking at this strictly from a quarterback position, CJ Stroud thus far in his career has given me more reason to doubt what he's going to put on film than Bo Nix has. And I don't think I mean, I've talked a little bit about this before. I think what we have with Bo Nix is just kind of what he's going to be. He's going to be a good quarterback. I don't think he's going to be elite. I think he's going to be just a good starting quarterback. So I think what you have is what you got. But again, he hasn't given me reason to doubt his ability so far. CJ Stroud, totally opposite story. He's given me plenty of reasons to doubt what he could do.
I mean, I have doubted Bo Nix plenty of times this season. He does show up in the fourth quarter.
More consistent, I think, than Stroud is the key here.
I would agree.
Ever since CJ Stroud big broed Caleb Williams in like week 2 of last year, basically telling him, hey, you got it, pal. Stick with it. You're going to be a good little player. Ever since he did that, like he has rapidly declined. I don't think I've ever seen I don't know if I want to call it karma because it's not like he was being a jerk. Like I think he was genuinely trying to be supportive, but it was a pretty rapid decline immediately after that. It's just food for thought because like the more that I think about it and I think back to what the Texans have done, especially on the defensive side of the ball this year, yeah, why can't they go make a run in, as Brandon said, a wide open AFC? I think what I'd be more concerned about, even more so than them on either side of the ball, is them going and playing in a cold weather environment. I can't really picture them going into Foxborough and beating the Patriots in January. I really, really, really struggle to see them beating what is one of the league's best teams, the New England Patriots, in 15, 20-degree weather. I struggle with that. But regardless, any other comments on this AFC playoff race before we go ahead and kind of shift gears on this one? No, we're feeling pretty good. All right. Let's shoot over to the NFC for right now and talk the biggest game of the week. Packers Bears. Packers defeat the Bears 28-21, ending the winning streak. As disappointed as I've been in the Pack all year long, well, quite literally since week 3, because they were amazing weeks 1 and 2, and then, in my opinion, they've left something to be desired almost every week up until then. Credit where credit's due. I mean, they currently sit atop the NFC North, and not only that, but they also right now are let me check, the number 2 seed. That's what I thought, the number 2 seed in the NFC. So credit where credit's due. Brandon, start with you. Did this game say more about the Packers being true contenders or the Bears being frauds?
Well, before I get into that, I do want to give a big shout out to Romeo Dobbs, who just straight up did not show up this week and gave me a whopping 0 points in a week that I needed to win to make the playoffs in my fantasy league. And we got another guy who's also on my, I can't say the word, but he's not in my good graces at the moment, and we'll talk about him a little bit later when we get to that game. But Romeo Dobbs, you are certainly in there with him right now for that goose egg you gave me this week. I know you're not a great player, but I expected 5-6 points maybe, and you gave me nothing. But as far as the Packers and Bears themselves go, I think this says a little bit more about the Bears, just in the fact that they're a young team that's starting to establish themselves as a power in the NFC. The Packers are just a more established team with a lot more veteran presence, a team that's really just they've been around, they've been there. I don't think it says a lot about the Packers being true contenders. I mean, they are a good team, as I said last week in Pag's picks, but I think it does say a lot more about the Bears. Like they just need a little bit more seasoning before they can start taking on some of the big dogs.
Ethan, same question directed at you.
Yeah, I mean, Packers have been playing good ball. They've won 4 in a row, and Pags, I know you're not a huge Jordan Love fan, but over that stretch, he's had 9 touchdowns and 1 interception and has been playing really good football. This Packers team is very dangerous. They have a great defense. And going into Lambeau in January is no easy task. We saw the weather. I mean, those are 2 cold weather teams, but we saw how that, the real temperature felt like 7 there. That's, it's not easy, especially for a team that's going to be coming in from the NFC West, like in LA, or an NFC South team, right? Like the Packers are dangerous. The Bears, they finally had their win streak calm down. Caleb Williams was not very good, and they couldn't get the ball going on the ground. What's happened with DJ Moore, though? This guy's had a complete descent this year. Only 2 games over 70 yards this season. His season high 73 yards. He was 1 catch for -4 yards in this game. What do you guys make of DJ Moore currently?
I think it's just
And
more
they
so.
just paid him too.
What's up, Brandon?
I was just saying they just paid him like last year too. They gave him like a big hefty contract.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm watching the Bears, and they've just kind of had a greater focus on other pass catchers. So early in the year, it was about establishing Romo Doomsday, and I totally understand that. They utilized the 9th overall pick in the draft on him. But even in other games where, like last week, for example, where Romo Doomsday didn't play, they've been prioritizing guys like Colston Loveland, who they selected, I believe, 10th overall this year. They've been prioritizing the pass catchers that regime has drafted, as opposed to a guy like DJ Moore, who, yes, they did trade for a few years back, but I think they're looking at their future, and they really, really see not DJ Moore. They see Romo Dunze and they see Colston Loveland, and they're looking to prioritize those guys over DJ. And it's just as simple as it is.
And looking at the roster as a whole too, I mean, looking at what Caleb Williams does, Caleb Williams is great at making the crazy play, not the traditional standard safe plays, right? He's really good at those, big time 4th quarter throws, not necessarily doing the simple stuff. So I think that might be more where DJ Moore thrives, is like just in structure. He's played with some not so great quarterbacks.
PJ Walker was nice, but threw that deep ball against the Falcons that ended where DJ caught it, and then it tied the game at 34, and he took off his helmet in the celebration, and the extra point got moved back 15 yards, so it was a 48-yard extra point. The kicker yoinked it, and I think they ended up going on to lose the game. It was like one of the greatest plays I've ever seen, but it was like one of the most boneheaded moves right after the play. Hilarious.
I don't remember that. That's hilarious, though. PJ Walker, out of?
I have no clue. I know he was like an XFL MVP, but I have no clue where he went to school.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was hoping one of you did.
God,
Yeah, not a clue.
you're so nice with that usually. All right, Brandon.
Yeah,
anything else on this matter? Because I wanna put you on the spot for the next one.
All right, yeah, put me on the spot. Let's go.
You heard Brandon allude to it earlier, so let me give you us 3, myself, Ethan, and Brandon, all had a very odd situation in our dynasty league. So essentially, there were 2 playoff spots remaining, and you see 3 of us. Or if you're listening, you've heard 3 of us. I held the upper hand. I was 8-5 going into the week. I was a simple win and in. Ethan, sitting at 7-6, was also a win and in because he had a pretty comfortable point differential over Brandon. I believe about a 60-point differential. Brandon was also 7-6, but as we stated before, he not only needed to win his matchup, but he either needed Ethan to lose or myself to lose. As it was going on, Ethan, despite putting up the 2nd most points in the league, played the top scoring team. So I won my matchup, and actually it didn't look like I was going to win it for a while, but I figured out a way to win it. So I win, I'm in, ignore me. So it's really down to Ethan and Brandon. Brandon looks like he's coasting to an easy victory. Again, after Ethan lost because he played the top scoring team, all Brandon needs is like 8 points from Jalen Hurts on a Monday night. And what he gets you, like -3?
So, okay. So just from my perspective, this whole situation, I'm looking at Ethan all weekend. Like every 20 minutes on Sunday, I'm just taking a look like, what's Ethan doing? Is he still in it? And I see just slowly that win percentage just slowly going down and down and down. I'm like, all right, I've got the help I needed. Can I pull it off? And I end Sunday. I think it was with like a 70-75% win chance, because I'm sitting there looking, I need like 15 points combined from O'Marion Hampton and Jalen Hurts. That's all I need. Well, Hampton did his part. He got me 12. And then Jalen Hurts just gives me like the worst performance of any Eagles quarterback in like the last 20 years that I can think of. I mean, I know I'm exaggerating here, but
I don't think you
just
are.
it's infuriating watching that happen, because I'm sitting there going, I have a running back and a quarterback going, a solid lead back. Granted, he is coming off of IR, so there was expected, a workload decrease, but still, a guy who's been a lead back when healthy and a top 10 starting quarterback in the NFL waiting to go on Monday Night Football. And I'm like, all right, it's all good. We're going to get the points. I went to bed at halftime of the game. I'd get up pretty early for work. I did not watch the whole thing. I'm figuring like, okay, whatever. He's going to figure it out in the second half. And I wake up in the morning to like 3 points from Jalen Hurts. What are we doing here? What are we doing?
I have to ask, okay, and a few things. Number one, I'm gonna go and check it right now, but I really don't think he scored in the positives. You said 3 points.
No, he did. He gave me, I think it was 4 points. I lost by 4.
Okay.
Here we go. I'm pulling it up right as we speak. My matchup from last week. Okay, so I lost 115.06 to 111.36.
Yeah, you're right.
And then I got 13.7 from Hampton and 4.4 from Hurts.
That's right. Okay, so you're right.
So yeah, Hampton did what he needed to, and Hurts just like totally crapped the bed.
Thank you for saying.
And I would like to use a lot stronger language, but this is a family affair, a family show. So just I already hate the Eagles. I already hate the Eagles as a Commanders fan. Jalen Hurts just made it even more infuriating.
Okay, I have to ask. Did you see the play where he had 2 turnovers on the same play? Which, by the way, first time in NFL history.
Yeah. I watched that one live, and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
For those that might not have seen it, let me describe to you the play, because I can actually describe pretty well. Hurts throws a pick. Okay, the ball gets stripped from the Chargers defensive player. Hurts picks up the fumble, makes a football move, establishes himself with the ball. All he has to do is go down, and the Eagles are going to get a new set of downs because it changed over possession. And he fumbles again when he gets tackled. It's the first time in NFL history one player got docked, got 2 turnovers on the same play, and it docked Brandon 4 points in what ended up being a 5 total turnover night. That's losing 10 points fantasy-wise, and you're not going to be able to
Realistically, if we're saying 2 points per turnover, that basically cost me the game, because I lost by a little bit more than 4. Like, obviously, we're talking about like a half point basically here or there. That one play basically cost me a playoff spot in our league. With that said, I did make the playoffs in Gridiron. That is our main league that we all participate in. So, got it on that one. Let's go. We're going on a run.
Yeah, Go ahead, Ethan. I've been talking a lot. Go ahead.
Yeah, so that Sunday was a roller coaster for me. I thought I was back in it. I had some pretty good games from guys like T. Higgins, Harold Fannin, but Kenneth Walker had a terrible day. That didn't help. And I had Daniel Jones as well, and obviously his Achilles blue, so that didn't help my favors either. So I kind of went into Sunday defeated. Monday, I think, and I've missed the playoffs. Like, I didn't even watch Monday Night Football. I didn't even check Brandon's score. And I wake up from a text from Pags being like, "You did it." And I'm like, "What do you mean I did it?"
No, he didn't do it. I blew it. Let's be real here.
Oh my God. Well,
Jalen Hurts blew
Brandon,
it.
The funny thing is, there was a point in time when you were winning so Ethan and I were hanging out Sunday with Jay, which you suck for bailing, but I understand you have a lot going on. But it's like, so it got to a point where you were winning your matchup so handily, and I was losing my matchup so handily that our thought, and Ethan was 50-50. So our thought really was, okay, Brandon won, and you guys both had me in points for, so you both had the tiebreaker over me if we ended even. So my honest to God thought was, Brandon's in, he's killing his matchup. I lost, so it's all down to Ethan. If Ethan wins, he's in, I'm out. If Ethan loses, I'm in, he's out. And then both matchups somehow turned on a dime. I made a really nice comeback in my matchup, ended up winning. So then it became down to just you two. And again, you were still just winning in because Ethan comfortably lost, and you couldn't even do that.
What infuriates me the most out of this whole thing is that is the league that I felt the best in, because I started out the season like 5-0, and I was like, I'm on a heater. I was ripping, and then all of a sudden, just like injuries and bye weeks all just kind of combined to just tank my season, put me right around 500. Going 2-7 down the stretch, and it's just miserable. I mean, that's the world that we live in for fantasy football. I get it, but I was trying to make some big time trades at the deadline to bolster my roster, which honestly probably would have gotten me in,
It
but at
would've.
the same time, it's frustrating knowing the position I was in and how the season wound up.
Let's talk gridiron for real quick. So us three are in two different dynasties together. One of them, the one that we're referring to actually for the last 5 minutes, is I'd say the one we take a little less seriously compared to the first one. This one's called Dick Dixon. Our other one is called Gridiron Gurus, and Gridiron Gurus is one of our main ones. Brandon, you snuck in as the 6th seed. Ethan, looking for his title defense, is the top seed. I accomplished my goal. I entered the year. It was time to move on to a different iteration of my team. I had some guys that were too old. It was time to sell and tank, and I tanked for that top overall pick. And Jeremiah Love is going to be a proud member of Team Ben Pags come May, unless somebody wants to.
Hey,
Somebody
I
wants.
thought you were on the clock, and teams that are on the clock do not reveal the first overall pick until they are officially on the clock on draft day. You just blew it.
Okay,
You did
fine.
not follow protocol.
Fine, I'll take Jordan Tyson then. Okay. With that being
Thank
said,
you.
Brandon, how you feel about your chances of going on a Cinderella run and winning this thing?
I mean, realistically,
I don't want you to be realistic. I
whole
want you to be realistic.
I'm gonna be. Hey, I just actually reset my lineup because number one, Jaden Daniels is actually gonna be out, which is killing
You'd
me
have to
here.
beat the 3 best teams in this league to do it.
What's that?
You'd have to beat the 3 best teams in this league to do it.
I would have to do it, but guess what? Right now, I'm matched up against Dylan, and I got a 47% chance to win. That's not insurmountable. If we're going into the matchup, if I had like a 33% chance to win, I'm like, okay, it's over. It's going to take a lot, but I'm right in this thing. So I'm not counting myself out here. All right. I'm not overly optimistic, but I am saying I started off slow because Rashee Rice was, on the suspension list. He's not on the suspension list anymore. Neither is Jordan Addison. No more bye weeks from here on out. I'm just saying all the pieces are falling into place. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's the Bugatti in the trailer park. Let's go. Let's go on a run.
Calling the Lions a trailer park now is kind of wild, but I guess they have.
No. I mean my fantasy team is a trailer park, and Jahmyr Gibbs is on my roster.
Okay, that makes a little more sense. Also, Ethan, just to be that guy, he wouldn't have to beat the top 3 teams if you get upset in the second round.
This is true.
Please do. Please do.
It could happen. I'm not loving my chances to repeat, to be honest. It doesn't look like Garrett Wilson's going to play again this year. Roma Dunze was out last week, and who knows what's going on with him. And I have some question marks in my flex spots right now. But if all the right pieces fall, I don't know. We could be keeping the trophy.
I hope not. Hope not. Hope it gets to go to Nick. But regardless, let's go ahead and move on and let's talk. Let's go to a little bit more of a somber note. Because although I would say Daniel Jones was turning back into a pumpkin, there's still no denying that he was able to resurrect his career this season. And I don't know if the perception of everybody outside New York is that Giants fans are super bitter at Daniel Jones. I don't want to speak for a collective fan base. I'll just speak for myself. And this Giants fan was happy to see him flourish this year. I had no issues with it. It didn't work in New York, and that's fine. But I was really, really happy to see him be able to revitalize his career. And I feel terrible that he ripped up his Achilles this past weekend. And I struggle to say that he's going to regain any of the kind of magic that he was able to muster up and accrue over the course of these previous 12 weeks. Your heart goes out to a guy like that went through a really tough time in an organization that I'm talking about the Giants, obviously, an organization that quite frankly has been one of the poorest in the NFL since they last won the Super Bowl 14 years ago. And Danny Dimes was able to find his way out of that. And it just sucks for that guy to now have to deal with one of the sport's most brutal injuries that you could possibly suffer. I feel bad for him. I don't know if you guys have anything on that matter.
Yeah, I'll just say, we've talked quite a bit about how we weren't sure how things were going to go with Daniel Jones. Is he going to turn back into pumpkin? Is he going to continue to sustain success? Could he be a candidate for, air quotes, a comeback player of the year, kind of like resurrecting his career the same way that, we've seen Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold do? We all kind of saw that trajectory as where he was headed, and this obviously puts a major dent in his progress towards that, and certainly not the way that many of us thought that season would have ended. I would have liked like to see him play in the postseason, see what the Colts can do with him behind center. But certainly a tough loss for that team, especially one that went all in at the trade deadline with Sauce Gardner. And well, boys, I guess we're gonna see what Phillip Rivers can do.
I guess so.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a fun one. Ethan,
Yeah, it's looking like Phillip Rivers is going to be under center this
is he
Sunday,
starting?
which is insane.
No, I don't think so.
I read today that he's on track to start.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't look like Riley Leonard's going to play. He had that PCL sprain, and they're going to bring in 5-year-old Phillip Rivers, who's off the couch after 4 seasons. When he last played with the Colts, was eligible for the Hall of Fame. If he plays, that delays his eligibility again.
So it's actually not even if he plays. I listened to something about this earlier today. So it is just if he gets promoted to the active roster. He does not have to actually play. As long as he's on the practice squad, he retains his eligibility. But as soon as he gets promoted to active roster, that Hall of Fame eligibility will reset.
I don't think Rivers was going to get in his first ballot to begin with. In fact, I really think Rivers is going to be the kind of guy that eventually gets in, maybe through like in a weaker year or maybe through like a veterans committee, even like 20, 25 years from now. I truly believe that. Just with no Super Bowl appearances, no Super Bowl rings, no MVPs. He's had a great career, but it's really just tough to get in. Regardless, it would have been awesome. Let's say he does get in on his first ballot and then he did this comeback. He'd be, as far as I'm concerned, unless I'm just missing something, I believe he'd be the first Hall of Famer to ever actively play in a game, because obviously you're not going to repeal this Hall of Fame election if he goes back. So that would have been sweet. But that's not the way it worked. I hate to no, I don't want to say I hate you, because regardless, business has to go on. Obviously, pretty tough game for the Colts in terms of losing their quarterback, but I think we have to give a little credit on the positive side to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who handled business very comfortably, 36-19. They are now 9-4. We talked a lot last week about the shape shifting going on in the AFC South and who can ultimately take control of that division. I still wouldn't go as far as saying the Jaguars are contenders, because, as Ethan noted and will continue to note, he thinks Trevor Lawrence is garbage, which I agree. I don't think there's 30 quarterbacks better than him, but I think he's garbage. So I'm not ready to call them contenders, but at some point, you got to give credit where it's due. They're 9-4 and they're atop the AFC South. And if the season ended today, they'd be the 3rd seed in the AFC. Ethan, do you have any faith in them that they can even like go to the AFC Championship, win 2 playoff games, or is there just none at all that Trevor Lawrence can get it done?
I think 2 playoff games is a big ask. I think a home playoff game, depending on the matchup, they could definitely win in round 1. But then they'd have to go to either probably Denver or New England and then the following week. And I think that's tough. That's a tough ask, especially like going and playing the cold in either of those places. I know Denver can be kind of mixed climate, but all likelihood, both of those places are going to be pretty cold compared to Jacksonville. So I don't really see them having much of a chance to get into the AFC Championship, but credit where credit's due, because they have put together a good season and they're 9-4.
Yeah. Brandon, any thoughts?
So looking at I just pulled up the current playoff bracket as it stands right now. So right now they are projected to host Buffalo, and I'm sorry, I'm taking Buffalo. But looking at the other wild card teams, I could see them beating Houston. I think it would be a tough game, but I could see them beating Houston just because their offense is not going to. Their defense is fantastic. The offense is not anything special. And the Chargers. I mean, we all know what the Chargers are. They're just inconsistent. You never know what you're going to get. So again, I think Buffalo beats them, but those other 2 teams, I wouldn't count either of them out. So just food for thought. And as far as the Trevor Lawrence thing is concerned, I just got to say, do I think he's a great quarterback? No, I don't. But I do think he gets overhated because of the generational hype tag that he came into the league with. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he's a great quarterback. It's kind of like in that same category as Bo Nix. But everybody looks at Trevor Lawrence as, well, he was supposed to be the savior of the franchise, and he hasn't that mark. Like, okay, yes, for a first overall pick with that kind of hype, has he been a bust? Yes. But in the general sense, like, he is still an NFL quarterback, and I don't think anyone's going to deny that. He deserves to have a starting role on a team in the NFL. You can't tell me that he hasn't played that well. Again, bust from the generational perspective, absolutely. But an NFL quarterback, yes, he's absolutely one of those.
Speaking of
That's fair.
busts, have you guys ever heard of that? Like, it's like almost like a TikTok sound. I think it's from like Phineas Ferb. It's like, if I did this, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's just weird that it happened twice. You guys ever heard that?
Yeah,
No.
Well, you haven't heard it, Ethan? Well, then
well, now you have.
okay, cool. Yeah, now you have. If well, if the Washington Commanders had a nickel for every second overall bust quarterback they have on their roster, they'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's just weird that it happened twice. Brandon, care to respond?
This is all your fault. I'm prevented from saying the words that I would like to on this show. And so, to all of PAG's students out there, I would like to say cover your ears, mute it for a second, just pass on by. But no, I'll save that for the group chat later.
Appreciate that. Thank
This
you.
is pure rage bait. I would like to just point that out. Pags knows very well that I almost said Daniel Jones, the Giants quarterback. Jackson Dart is not as good as Jaden Daniels. Okay, you say what you want to believe, but Jaden Daniels is the better quarterback.
Jackson Dart can take a hit. We saw it.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Hey, how many times he wound up in concussion protocol? That's all I'm saying. Like
once.
Will he take a hit? Will he take a hit? Yes. Can he? I don't know about that. Yeah, no, okay, let's be real. Jaden has had a tough season injury-wise, and I've made the comparisons myself. Second overall pick, offensive rookie of the year, injuries end of rookie year / beginning of year 2 or throughout year 2. I've already made those comparisons in my head a million times. Hell, throw Chase Young in there because defensive player of the year, second overall pick, ACL in the second year. Like, it's happened before. I'm not ready to say it's going to happen again. I'm trying to be optimistic, but like, it's with him being out this weekend too. Like, I'm beyond infuriated because it feels like one step forward and not even 2 steps back, like 5. Like the way this team has been this year, it's been blasphemous, ridiculous, just all out terrible.
I'm actually saying the following might sound like I'm joking. I'm actually not. Last year was a year where like literally everything that could go right for you guys within some realistic realm did go right. Okay. Getting to the NFC Championship was like if we asked you like a year and 15 months ago, okay, so like last August, all right, hey B, what's the Commander ceiling this year? Would you have said a playoff berth like as like the 7 seed? Probably.
Yeah, I would have said 10 wins.
Yeah.
I would have said 10, maybe 11 wins.
Yeah, and if somebody told you, dude, you're going to go to the NFC Championship game, you would ask them to go see a doctor, get their head checked, all that good stuff. This year has been the antithesis of that, which big word right there, I know.
Yes.
This year has been that in the sense that literally everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. I feel like you were concerned coming into this year thinking, damn, we might regress to the mean, and you went well past that. You have to think next year, okay, we're going to regress back to the mean, which is hopefully a team that is contending for a wild card spot, depending on the outlook of the NFC East, maybe even contending for the division. And it can't possibly go as bad as it did this year. So I don't know if there's a lot of solace in that right now, but I think there's some solace that you can take away. It's like, okay, we had our just like beautiful year last year in 2024. We had our year from HELL. I can't believe I can't say that. Here, now let's see what we can do heading into 2026 with hopefully a healthy Jaden Daniels, a pretty high draft pick, and we can just go from there, I guess. I guess that's what I thought.
I just pulled up the schedule and actually went through it. Like, going into the season, what would I have legitimately thought? I just counted it off. I would have had a splitting division-wise. I would have had a sweeping the Giants and then splitting with Dallas and Philly. And then other than that, I mean, I counted up 10, 11 wins. I had Denver as kind of like a 50-50 game, going into the year. Again, that would have put us at 10, 11 wins.
Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers, they went ahead and won into Baltimore and won a big divisional game 27-22 to take the lead over them in the AFC North. They are now 7-6. It's still really anyone's game between the Steelers and the Ravens. I'm trying to look. I remember we looked at the schedule last week.
They meet the last week of the season.
They do meet the last week of the season. So that's definitely, I think I said this last week, that's definitely like possible Sunday night football flex appeal. But I guess we'll have to see. Brandon, neither of these teams, in my opinion, are contenders. This is simply just for the AFC North crown. But do you take anything away from this game? Are you impressed with the Steelers, or is it just another notch in what's been a really disappointing season for Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens?
I think that, granted, they've already said they're not going to do it, but I think this kind of win is exactly why Pittsburgh fans want to see Mike Tomlin gone. Because now you are 7-6. You're going to finish the season at another 500, roughly 500, season. And what are you going to do? You're going to go to the playoffs, maybe, and you're going to have an immediate elimination, or you're going to have the worst picks in the draft. You're going to have that, late or that mid first rounder where you haven't really shown anything. You're not going to get a great player at that position, but you're going to get a good player. It's really, like I said, it's the reason that Steelers fans want to see some change in the head coaching position from that Steelers front office. And the Steelers don't fire their coaches. Again, they've said they're not going to fire Mike Tomlin, but there's definitely growing sentiment there in Pittsburgh that the fans want him gone. And as far as the Ravens go, it's like, okay, you really got to turn on the Jets now because you started off so slow that you've really dug yourself a hole. Can you dig yourself out of it? Because the Steelers really shouldn't be a threat to anyone in that division. Again, good team, but not great. So teams like the Ravens with a generational quarterback at the helm, you should be winning these games.
A stat that's not talked about enough is the fact that since the 1970s, the Steelers have only had 3 head coaches. There's not enough appreciation for how absolutely ridiculous that stat is. Ethan, same question to you. Um, does this really do anything for the Steelers? Or again, is this just saying more about the fact that the Ravens are having one of the most disappointing seasons we've seen in their franchise history?
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with how the Ravens have performed. I think a lot of people were picking them to be a contender to come out of the AFC this year. Obviously, Lamar got hurt. I still don't think he's 100% right now. He has been playing some pretty atrocious football over the past 4 or 5 weeks. The Steelers, man, they do nothing impressive. Yeah, they're stuck in that, mediocrity, just about good range. And that game was ugly. We watched a lot of that on Red Zone. And, other than DK Metcalf lighting it up for the Steelers, their offense really doesn't have like that wow factor. Neither did the Ravens by any means either. Derrick Henry hasn't looked like himself, and neither has Lamar. The Ravens have a really tough schedule next 4 games. The Bengals, they obviously play the Steelers again, and then they had 2 more. They play the Packers and Patriots as well. So I'm looking at the Steelers to probably end up winning this division at this point of the season.
Yeah, schedule wise, it definitely appears that way. I'm not going to hold my breath either way because, like I said, I don't really envision any team that emerges from that division making a run. Certainly not the Steelers. I guess you could argue, even as much as I will, stand 10 toes down on Lamar chokes in the playoffs. I mean, if the Ravens do get into the playoffs, they're probably going to do so because they got hot and finished probably 10-7. So they win their final 4 and would thus firmly be in the don't want to face them in the first round category. So we'll see what shakes down with that, but I'm not holding my breath. Let's go ahead and switch gears now. We'll talk a little NBA. We're not going to talk about it for too long, maybe 5-10 minutes at the most. And then we'll wrap up with some Pags picks and we'll send you on your way this week. Yeah, with Ben absent, we don't have the fancy trade, the Spotrac trade proposals. So if you're a fan of the NBA and you're feeling like something's missing today, thank Mr. McPherson for his contribution. We're happy to have him as a full-time part of the show and wish him his best in his travels right now. Let's talk NBA Cup, which I have always said is more important than winning NBA championships. I've always been 100% on the NBA Cup is the number one thing that you should be trying to achieve. Boston is pathetic that they haven't won an NBA Cup yet. They hang their 18 championship banners and think that does something for them. No, the only 2 franchises that have respect from me as a basketball fan are the Lakers because they won the NBA Cup in 2023 and the Bucks because they won it last year in 2024. My Knicks have an opportunity to do that as they emerged victorious over the Toronto Raptors 117-101 last night, and they will now face the Orlando Magic. Before we continue, let me just say, obviously, I was being facetious. I don't really care about the cup. It's kind of a cool concept, and it is growing on me from where I was at 2 years ago. Ethan, do you want to talk a little bit about the inspiration for the NBA Cup? Because I know that's your realm of expertise.
Yeah, it's definitely modeled after like the European soccer format where they have, their league play going on. And just to be clear, the Premier League, the Spanish La Liga, German Bundesliga, their regular season, that's their playoffs too, because at the end of the day, at the last day of the season, whoever's in first place is the champion. So they have a side format, a cup competition, which is a tournament style, and it's also run simultaneously with the season. So that's where the NBA got its inspiration from. But it's those cups have been around for over hundreds of
They're
years.
established.
Yeah, they're very established. So this NBA Cup obviously is very new, but it's put on for some entertaining basketball. I tuned into the Cup Finals the past 2 years, and I'm sure I will this year as well. Pax, how you feeling about playing your least favorite team in the Eastern Conference?
Doing so without Franz makes me a little happier, but I feel like Desmond Bain is on some kind of mission right now. He dropped, I believe, 37 last night. I don't know if you caught any of the Magic Heat game, E, but like the Heat when I turned on the game, it was 13-0 Miami, and it got as bad as I believe a 16-point deficit in the first quarter, and it ended the first quarter 30-17 Miami. And Orlando just came roaring back in the second quarter. They entered halftime with the lead. It wasn't like, oh, they chipped away, and then in the third quarter and going into the fourth, they took over. No, they overtook the lead in that second quarter. Miami, I think the secret's out on Miami. Credit to Eric Spoelstra. He reinvented the Heat's offense. They play with a whole lot of pace. But I actually think Tyler Hero coming back has made it so some of the other characters that have been stepping up for them, a Jaime Jaquez, a Kalel Ware, there's another name on there. Simone Fontecchio, guys like that, they have now been pushed back out of the limelight. And I think it's made it very challenging for them to get in some sort of rhythm. I really think, the Heat are currently on a 4-game losing streak. They're still a good basketball team when push comes to shove, but I really think they are fading fast, and I think they are playing bound. To answer your question, because I didn't really answer it, I hate playing against the Magic. I just feel we've done it 3 times already this year. This is gonna be the 4th time we play the Magic, and we are not on the schedule to play them any other time. So the only other time we will play them until the 2026 season is if we meet them in the playoffs, which is a decent possibility at this point. I could easily see a 2-3 Celtics Magic matchup, Knicks Magic matchup, excuse me, for example. However, Landry Shamet got hurt last time we played him, or the time before. The time before that, Brunson got hurt. Deuce McBride got hurt last time on Sunday that we played him. He was out last night against Toronto. We didn't need him because Toronto was without RJ Barrett or Emmanuel Quickly, and they have just reestablished themselves as a pretty abysmal team without those two. It turns out both of them are very, very important to their offense. I'm just concerned. Just want everybody to emerge healthy, honestly. And I obviously would like to get a win. Part of me wants to see how we stack up against OKC because we are not slated to play OKC until January, I believe. And assuming OKC represents the Western Conference, I do really want to get a look at how that's going to shake down for us. Actually, I'm looking at it now. Do we really not? Wow, we don't see OKC until March. Wow. And that's after the deadline. So yeah, I would actually double down. I'd like to see how we stack up against them because I need Leon Rose and company in the front office to understand, hey, do we have to go make a move for a guy that can help us beat a team like OKC? Or do we match up okay and we can take our shot if we were both to reach the NBA finals? I don't know. It's something I'd like to see.
Yeah, the Thunder are on an incredible run right now. They really have a legitimate shot to beat the Warriors record, which would be insane. But they've only lost 1 game so far, and we are a quarter of the way through the season. So they're only on track to lose, 4 games? That's absurd.
It is. I think Kendrick Perkins said, and I mean, Perk, he's like, they're going to go 80-2 or 79-3. It's like, okay, they're not going to do that. They're going to have a stretch of 2 weeks where they're not playing great ball and maybe they lose 2 to 3 games in those 2 weeks. It's going to happen. It's like, I mean, I don't know what the toughest stretch of their schedule is, but there's got to be some kind of stretch. The West is such a gauntlet. There's got to be some kind of stretch where in a 5-game span, 3 of their opponents are like Houston, Denver, and San Antonio with a healthy Wemby, somebody like that. There's got to be some kind of stretch like that. So, I mean, they're going to find their way to, I'd say, minimum 6 losses. But the fact that we're even just like saying that, like that's a possibility, is truly ridiculous.
Yeah, it's special when teams can do something like that. I mean, that Warriors team that went 73-9 was so good. And they didn't even win the finals that year. And obviously they added Kevin Durant right after that and never reached that mark again. Even winning 70 games, let's say they go 70-12, is absurd.
It is.
And maybe beating the record is a really tall task. We've seen teams start really hot and then tail off. There are injuries throughout the season, but they weathered Jalen Williams not being out in for the first few weeks really well. So who knows with this team? The sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's an understatement. Brandon, we're going to shift to you. We're going to talk about some sport with like sticks and like little blades that we haven't talked about in several weeks. So Brandon, take it away.
Yeah, so we are gearing up for what is going to be one of the most incredible things that we have been able to witness as sports fans since the Vancouver Olympics in 2012, and that is NHL players back in the Olympics getting some of that international best on best. And so I want to take a little moment to talk about some things that may be going on with Team USA. Every nation, or excuse me, well, not every nation, the big six, the big four really, Sweden, Finland, US, and Canada, have named 6 players that are already going to be on the roster. The rest of the rosters have not yet been named. One of the players, or one of the positions that has not been named for Team USA is goaltender. We have no idea who is expected to be the goaltender. Now, if we go based upon last year's Four Nations face-off, which if you did not watch, some of the best hockey you're ever going to see, very competitive. Pags, I'm pretty sure you watched some of those games. Like, it was some of the most incredible hockey that we've watched in years, arguably on par with the Stanley Cup final in terms of the competitive spirit those players came to play with. Looking
Can
at
I say
those,
something about that? The craziest thing that I heard, and because I watched a lot of it, was Jack Eichel talking about, and you're talking to a guy, Jack Eichel, who was played in a Stanley Cup final when he donned, he's American, right? When he
yes,
donned,
and he won a cup with
yes,
Vegas.
when he donned the American sweater going into the gold medal, the final game of that Four Nations, he quoted as, "This is the most important game I've ever played in." And we're talking about a man that won a Stanley Cup. That's just was one of the craziest things. It just tells you how important these guys take it when they don the sweater that says their home country on it.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about the Four Nations face-off a little bit. I'm going to circle back to that after we talk a little bit about Team USA's roster, what that's going to look like for the upcoming Olympics this year. But like I said, I do want to kind of highlight the goaltender position. So last year's roster for Team USA in that Four Nations tournament, they went in with Connor Hellebuck is the starter, Jake Ottinger is the playing primary backup, and Jeremy Swayman is the third goaltender. So we're kind of assuming that those 3 are penciled in again for the Olympics this year, just because it's only been a year. They're all high caliber players. But now, and they're all fantastic goalies. I honestly probably the best goalie trio you're going to find at the Olympics. But looking at who's going to start this year, that is very much up for grabs. Connor Hellebuck was undisputed last year. He won the Hart and the Vezina Trophy for best goaltender and league MVP. Like, you don't do anything better than that. Connor Hellebuck had a fantastic year in the NHL last year. He is coming off of knee surgery that was expected to sideline him for 4 to 6 weeks. He's just getting back on the ice now. Olympics will be in February, so we still have some time for him to kind of get things figured out. But again, what's he going to look like coming back from knee surgery? Because that's a pretty major procedure for any athlete, and especially a goaltender where you're relying on knees to get down to the butterfly and move side to side. There's a lot of that side-to-side motion. That's definitely something that could hinder his play until he has an offseason to fully rehab that injury. Then looking at Jake Ottinger, he's been good this year, but he hasn't been as good as we saw last year, leaving the door wide open for Boston Bruins goaltender Jeremy Swayman to steal that job, who, having a very subpar year last year after missing all of training camp because of contract negotiation issues, and then, the risk of that bleeding over into the regular season, they did get a deal done, but he did not look like the himself of prior all of last year, really. Well, he has bounced back in incredible form. So when you look at the numbers, he's playing behind a Bruins defense that has not been good this year. So you just look at the raw numbers, the typical goalie stats. You see a goals against of 2.67 and a save percentage of 913. Hasn't had a shutout in 20 games played, but 13 wins. So he's winning more than he's losing. But again, those numbers don't jump off the page at you as this guy should be starting for Team USA in the Olympics this year. But what I do want to point at is, again, that defense is so porous. And I mean, any defense that's starting Jonathan Aspro, who's a guy who's been a career AHLer and is finally making his NHL debut at 26 and barely has a point in those games. I'm sorry, he's just not that good. And he's playing in your top 4 defensemen. That's a big red flag. I know McAvoy's out with injury, but it's a problem. Well, even behind a defense, starting him in that top 4, you look at the goals saved above expected stats. So you're going to have to go a little bit deeper into the analytics to find those kinds of numbers. He has saved 19.4 goals above expected this year, which is top 3 in the league, only behind Logan Thompson of the Capitals and Ilya Sorokin of the New York Islanders. Both of them are top flight goalies. Right behind him, Igor Shesterkin and Spencer Knight, guys who are having career years or, playing up to their Vezina caliber levels. He is right up there with the top goalies in the league right now, and he is very well making a case for himself to be the starter at the Olympics in Milan this year in February.
I'm so fired up. I saw a commercial the other day. It was
that's what I wanted to talk about, the commercial with John Hamm.
Yeah, dude, it was so cool. It was like this guy was talking about Canadian hospitality. Like they must be so nice. I think it was like Brady Kachuk and Austin Matthews were like, yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, no, it was my favorite part of that is John Hamm walks in, like, he's giving a pump-up speech to the guy in Team USA. It's like, we're going to win the greatest prize of them all, referring to the Olympic gold medal. And I think it was Jack Eichel just looks at him as like, Canadian tears?
I
It's
love
like,
that.
it's great, and then it just breaks into a montage of, all the fights we had and, those 3 fights from Team USA and Canada when it was the Tkachuk brothers and JT Miller just getting into it right off the face-off in that first Team USA versus Canada game. That was just absolutely electric, and unfortunately, the Olympics does not allow fighting, so unfortunately, we are gonna be missing that aspect, but hey, it's gonna be some electric hockey, it's gonna be fast, it's gonna be physical, very much something to look forward
Yeah,
to.
no, I'm fired up. One of my favorite childhood sports memories, like outside of like my own team, it was waking up at like 8:30 in the morning and watching the United States play Russia and go into like 14 face-off rounds, and the legend of TJ Oshie was born. That is truly one of my favorite memories as a young sports fan. Waking up at Larry's place and going in and watching that. That was unbelievable. Brandon, anything else for hockey talk tonight?
That's pretty much it. That's all I wanted to cover. Just Jeremy Swayman. He's making a case for himself, not to just be a Vesna candidate, but starting for Team USA in the Olympics this
All
year.
right, go ahead and give us our promo for well, our you know what it is for Pags Picks.
Our ad read, as I like
Cool.
to call it. Oh, it's not an ad read. It's a liability statement. Let's go with that. Liability statement. Pags Picks is a podcast segment created solely for entertainment and informational purposes. The content shared during this segment does not constitute betting advice or financial recommendations. Any wagers placed based upon the opinions or commentary expressed in Pags Picks are made at the sole discretion and risk of the listener. Hosts and creators of Pags Picks are not liable for any losses or damages resulting from betting activities. You must be 21 years of age or older to participate. Pags, take it away.
I'd really like to see the last time that a top seed in a conference was a home underdog to a team that they have at least 2 games or more on in the standings. I know that that's like some specific parameters, but I'd really love to see anything. A team that's tied for first in the entire conference be underdogs at home to a team that they beat earlier in the season and are 2 games better than in the standings. Of course, referring to the New England Patriots, who are 1.5 point home dogs against the Buffalo Bills this weekend. Clearly, odds makers like the Bills to enact a little revenge for the Patriots going up and defeating the Bills at Orchard Park earlier this year. I've seen enough of Drake May this year where I'm not going to bet against him. I know the whole joke, the big schedule. I know the schedule is really easy. I'm the one that brought the stat, the third easiest schedule to statistically in NFL history. I get all that. But I've also been the one to say that at every single turn, every single test, this Patriots team has answered the bell. I watched them do it live. Not that the Giants are impressive, but I watched them kick the crap out of the Giants a few weeks ago. I was in the stadium for the first half. I am picking the Patriots straight up money line, not just to cover the spread. Might as well go all in. Money line, it's minus 102, so pretty much even money. Whatever you bet, you're going to win back because it is going to win. Book it. I lost last week by 0.5 point. I picked the Bears to cover 6.5. They lost by exactly a touchdown. So sorry about that, but I am a fan of the Patriots to win outright this week. Book it, and that's where I'm going. Boys, we have anything else today?
Yeah, I got some for you guys. So, coworker of mine, Brian, is facing a starting conundrum this week, and he asked if I could bring this up with you guys. So, it's a 2 quarterback league. He's already starting Lamar. He's booking that. There are two, by the way, there's a quarterback question and a wide receiver question. So, there's 3 options for quarterback are Baker Mayfield, Shador Sanders, and Marcus Mariota.
I am going to say what similar to what I said to you, Ethan, when we were texting yesterday, and you asked me about Justin Jefferson, whether or not you thought it was crazy. I thought you were crazy if you were to bench him. And I said no, but to answer your question about John, I'm going to say something similar and kind of connect it. Sometimes when you're having a debate with 2 or 3 fantasy players and it's that close, like I think it would be between Mariota, Mayfield, and Shador, I think you have to go with the guy that you would be most upset about if they went off on your bench. And for me, that guy would be Baker Mayfield. Even though he has been lackluster for the past month, I'm not going to deny that. He is an Emeka Egbuka not dropping a touchdown last week away from having a pretty nice game. 2 touchdowns last week. Obviously, it looks much worse with only one. I would tell him to go Mayfield.
Yeah, and I'm kind of leaning the same way. I look at that as go with the known quantity. Baker Mayfield has given us plenty of game tape and plenty of reason to trust him. Mariota, I think he can do all right, but the Washington's been very bleh this year. Just absolutely abysmal team to watch, and putting a backup quarterback in there. I'm sorry, I don't trust him. I mean, he's not a bad player, but I mean he's a backup quarterback for a reason. And Shadur, it's kind of what we don't know what we have with Shadur yet. There's too many unknown quantities there. So I say you ride with Baker because you know what you've got.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't think Mariota was really in the conversation, for me at least. Shadur had a big week last week, and they're playing Chicago, so they'll probably be playing behind. So that game script kind of favors him. But at the end of the day, I hear what you guys are saying. Baker's the more established player, and seems like Mike Evans might be playing tomorrow night as well. I am not usually a fan of the short weeks unless it's like an absolute superstar player, though. So that's going to be a decision he has to make. But I'll let him know that you guys said Baker.
Yeah, this is
For
gonna get
wide
released
receiver,
Friday morning, so we could look like real idiots if Baker lays a stinker on Thursday Night Football.
that's right. So wide receivers, three options as well. Devontae Smith, I want you guys to keep in mind he has Saquon Barkley as well, so he doesn't love having both Eagles in there. Devontae Smith, Jacoby Myers, and oh, this is bad. I wrote it down for a reason, and I'm not even looking at it. What an idiot.
Now you're fine. Brandon, nets this out.
Scary Terry.
Brandon, start this one.
Yeah, I mean, I go with Devonta Smith because I say I don't like having two wide receivers in the same offense, but you got a wide receiver and a running back. They're not realistically most of the time they're not going to be vying for carries on the same play. You know what I mean? Or vying for touches on the same play. So I'm okay with a Barkley and Devonta Smith. If he's not comfortable with that, then I'd go Terry just because I trust him a little bit more. He's more established presence. But again, you got Marcus Mariota starting, so who knows what that's going to look like. And Jacoby Myers is a good player, but I mean, I wouldn't start him over either of those two guys. So yeah, I think we go with Smith.
I'm going to disagree with you, Brandon. I think Devontae Smith is an immediate no-go just because, given the fact he already has Saquon, I think that's too much to invest in an offense that has been stuck in mud all year long. I think if you're going to start two guys from the same offense, it has to be a pretty electric offense. For men, not anymore, but for many years, the Chiefs were that offense. The Eagles of a few years ago, even just last year, were that offense. You're talking about offense like the Detroit Lions, or even this year, like the Dallas Cowboys. Like if you tell me you start Javonte Williams and George Pickens, okay, they do it. They produce enough. However, the Bengals are another one. Chase Brown and T. Higgins, for example, or obviously Chase Brown and Jamar Chase. You get the point. But the Eagles are not that offense. I also don't trust Scary Terry, and I'm gonna go with Myers. I'm looking at Myers. He in the last 4 weeks, he has not had a game where he has been targeted less than 6 times. His fantasy outputs in half PPR leagues have been 13, 18, 13 the past 3 weeks. In those weeks, he was wide receiver 17, wide receiver 11, and wide receiver 18. If you're telling me, I'm assuming he's starting one of these guys, maybe in like a flex spot or maybe like a wide receiver 3 spot. If you're telling me that I can get a wide receiver, 19-ish performance from my flex or my wide receiver 3, yeah, I'll sign up for that in a heartbeat. And so based on the numbers, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this one too. I really didn't have an answer for him. And I'm kind of going through this myself. Michael Pittman, Jacoby Myers, it's Justin Jefferson worth starting. I think he has to be at this point. Should I continue to ride Harold Fannin? Big week in Dick Dixon this week. I was the second highest scoring team, and I barely snuck in the playoffs. It took a Jalen Hurts 5-turnover night for me to get into the playoffs.
What a beautiful thing.
All right, so given we're having this whole sit-start conversation, I was going to send this one in the group chat later, but I think, it's good content, so let's keep going with it for one more if you don't mind. Do we go Jordan Addison or Jerry Jeudy in Gridiron this week?
Addison, but I don't think it's even close.
What an atrocious set of options.
Well, Addison is just so boomer bust. I'm not saying Jeudy isn't either, but it's like Shadur or JJ McCarthy.
He prefers 9.
Who's going to be more pathetic
9.
this week?
He prefers 9.
Sorry,
9
my bad.
Yeah, he was.
Well, look who he was playing. The wet paper towel. That's who he was playing.
I really don't know what to tell you on this one. I guess Addison, I think you would probably like bank on at least like 5 points from Addison. So I guess you just like go with the floor on that one. The only way I'd say maybe go Jeudy is if you like really feel like you have to pull out all the stops to beat Dylan and you need like a possible boom. Like the risk of boom or bust is more appealing to you than the safety of like a 5 to 8 point floor, then go Judy. But if you're just looking for like 5 to 8 point floor and try to, win with your other studs, Jameer Gibbs and Rashee Rice, then I'd go Addison in that case.
Well, there is. I will throw this out there. There is also secret option C because it's a flex spot. Alton Schultz, go the double tight end.
No. What are you, cats? Are you gonna try to get him to trade? Are you gonna try to trade him to us now
Yeah, absolutely. Give me your first rounder, Dalton Schultz.
for the
Absolutely.
101?
You know what? Just yeah, exactly. Give me Jeremiah Love. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. You won't draft him yet. My bad.
Brandon, do you want to do Judkins and 2 firsts for Love?
Maybe. Let's
We'll
talk.
talk another time.
We'll
then.
talk. We'll talk.
We'll talk another
Yeah,
time.
no.
All right, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching or listening. Excuse me, sorry, I lost my voice right there. I appreciate you guys. Anything else, boys? Are we good? We get to peace out here?
Make sure to follow us on the socials at potential_exp.
Yeah, share with your friends, guys. Share with everybody you know. Your grandmother, your grandmother's friend, anybody.
If you have Bears fans that in your family, I'm sure they'll love to hear Pags talk all that smack about the Packers. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true. We're up to over 100 followers on the TikTok, so thank you to mostly my current and former students that are supporting us.
Keep it up.
We appreciate you guys.
Keep it up.
And
Follow the Instagram too. Follow the Instagram.
true, yeah, you guys, I'm pretty sure have Instagram. I don't think that's too old.
Shout out Jet Schwartz, one of my former students who I ran into the other day, and he was like, "Mr. Case, like I've been listening to the podcast," and I was like, "That's awesome, man! Like share it with your friends."
Crazy.
Yeah. Honestly, the kids are such stalkers and they're so addicted to their phones, but it could be helpful for us to grow if they're going to be this addicted and
Yeah.
like and comment on and repost literally everything we do. So you know what?
Yeah, comment, guys.
What's up?
Comment. I feel like if some of our listeners were to start commenting, that'd be awesome. That way we can get engaged with you guys. We can maybe talk about what you guys want to hear us talk about. It'd be awesome if you guys were to comment.
Yeah, we would love that. So once again, we appreciate you guys and thank you so much for watching and or listening. And we will see you next week back with Mr. McPherson. Peace.
Ciao.